welcome to a special theatrical cut of Seismic Cinema. So if it's absolute rubbish and you have no idea what's going on, don't worry, there'll be a director's cut somewhere, maybe, possibly, and I promise you it will be better. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. So, as you can probably see, we are reviewing Rebel Moon Part 1, Child on Fire, and with me tonight, Paul, is Colin, who has the wee tagline of Dairo Naharis. Is it Dairo Naharis 1 or 2? We don't know, because both of them are in this film. And we also have James, who has the name of Buckbeak, and I think that's a wee nod to a wee creature we'll see later on, probably discuss when we get to the character, Tarak. How you doing, boys?
I quite enjoyed your intro, that was quite witty.
Thanks. It's easy when it's not good.
It was good.
How you doing, James?
I am a bad mate. Silence speaks volumes when it comes to this movie, perhaps, but not bad, mate.
No, I felt bad that I suggested it for this. If anybody doesn't know, this is my pick for January. Colin picked Wonka, James has picked Predator, so this is my pick, and I feel like this is a roller coaster where it's dipped down in the middle. So
I'll probably still get more views than Wonka anyway.
Please, God, please. I've done a wee agenda, quite organised, unlike Zack Snyder. So, just going to do a brief overview, just kind of what we thought of the whole kind of movies, the plot, etc. And then we're going to go straight to the comments, because I feel like this movie has come with a lot of controversy from all the audience. So we're going to go for a few of the comments that we got. And then we're going to go through each character, not each character, but most of the main characters and the introductions and what we thought if it actually added to the film or not. And then we'll just do a wee bit of trivia and then a conclusion. But before we get into the overview, just need to do a wee bit of housekeeping, because Colin will be sad because we've got these tickers and etc. and I'm always forgetting about them. So yeah, we are Seismic Cinema. If you want to follow us and our partner podcast, Seismic Soccer, on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads and TikTok, it'd be greatly appreciated. We're sitting at about 116 subscribers on YouTube, and we're always looking for more to grow the channel. So if you want to help us out, and also we're on any other listening platform like Spotify, Audible, just anywhere you listen to podcasts, really. So go listen to us.
Let's try and get to 150 subs by middle of the year, eh?
I was going to say end of the year.
Middle of the year. Go for it.
Aye.
We've also got a Buy Me a Coffee page. It's at buymeacoffee.com/Seismic Cinema. Get Jamesy Boy a nice shiny microphone like me and Colin, because his voice deserves to be crystal clear.
The aim is to get a microphone for the Predator podcast. That's my aim.
Yes.
Better get
And
moving
then
then.
we can hear all your Arnie impressions as well, and crystal clearness.
Well, that's what I'm going to try and do, man. So I need to put a disclaimer on at the start of that episode.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. And then also, this is the first time I've probably said this since it happened. Just happened over New Year. We are part of PodPack Collective, and we're just kind of a bunch of positive podcasts trying to make a difference in the community and trying to just pool our resources. And that includes Tsunami, who we had on last week for Wonka. That's we've got Dan from Casting Views, got Sean from Review It Yourself podcast. We've got the girls from Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, which is an amazing name, by the way. We've got the Ginger Bookworm from Nostalgic Podcast, Look, and a new one to the collective, Stop, Drop and Roll Initiative, which is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, so I can't even tell you a thing about it. So
I hear James is our next guest.
No, I'm not a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. Never played it. But you know what? Each to their own. Do you know what I mean? It's a variety. People will have their views on that, I suppose. So, it can't be pleasing everybody. You know what I mean? So,
Me and Paul don't watch Doctor Who, so
well, that's it. And I'm going to be talking about Doctor Who at some point during this, by the way, as well. So, strap yourselves in.
If that's one of the things that Zack Snyder has thrown at this Mad Mix, then I totally missed that. So hopefully there's something in there. So yeah, we're going to be reviewing Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. On the scores and the doors, on IMDb, it's got a 5.6. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 23% critic score, and a 58% audience score. So this was the big, meant to be Star Wars killer. It's part 1 of, I think it's meant to be a trilogy. Part 1 and Part 2 got filmed back to back. So I think the next one comes out in April, I think, Part 2. I think this was actually meant to be a Star Wars film, and it got rejected off Disney. And I think once we get into the kind of the meat of it, we'll soon see why. Story-wise, it's not the most complicated story in the world. It's basically our main character is assembling a group of people to defend her village from the big bad. That's basically it in a nutshell. A few subplots here and there. And I think it's fair to say Zack Snyder has picked quite a few different sci-fi fandoms, and I think somebody said threw it in a blender and just see what stuck. And it's just a mishmash of just so many different fandoms. Unreal. So just initially, just your thoughts on it, boys. James, what was your initial thoughts when you watched the movie?
Well, like I said off camera there, it took me probably 3 sittings to watch this, and that's very unlike me. So I tend to always watch films from start to finish. This is like 2 hours and 15 minutes. But it felt like 5 hours and 15 minutes. So it was a bit of a slog, if I'm honest with you, through the whole thing. For me, it took an awfully long time to get to the plot, was what was going on. There was a lot of kind of dilly-dallying all around it before it got there. But you said the plot it's not the most complicated thing in the world, which I agree to an extent. I think it was all the characters that were in there, and then just being thrown into the plot. For me, I don't really. At the start, I didn't really know who the main character was. Really, I didn't know who I was meant to be following. At the start of the film, I just didn't find engaging at all, and for me, that's a massive turn off, because you want to be captured right away. Do you know what I mean? You want to be right involved, immersed into the whole film or TV show, whatever it may be. And I just felt I wasn't committed, and I got to the stage where, well, if I'm not going to give it my attention, then I'm just going to have to turn it off and kind of watch it again, second sitting, then a third sitting. So a bit of a slog. Do you want just to go any characters, whatever, mate, or you want me to just kind of?
I was just kind of your initial thoughts on the movie when you first watched it, kind of thing. Because like, I was quite excited to watch this when it came out. It was like built to be something like really good, and I was like, I'm really looking forward to this. But like you're saying, I've seen it 3 times. The first time I watched it, I think I watched it over 2 sittings because I was kind of like, this is a bit of a slog. Second time I was like, I'll give it another chance just to see in case I've been too harsh on it. And then I watched it the other night with Scarlett, and yeah, it was just a pretty big negative fest. What about you, Colin? What was your initial thoughts on the movie?
So I've watched it almost twice. So the first time I watched the first half hour, and then on Saturday night, I think it was, I watched the rest of it. And then I watched it in like maybe 3 pieces kind of across the week. But I didn't quite get to the last 15, 20 minutes the second time round. So the first half hour, the first time I watched it, I didn't actually mind it. Like I was actually quite enjoying it up to like the kind of first half hour, because there was the moment, the quite kind of shocking moment where they take out the guy from, it's the guy from Ant-Man, is it?
Yeah, Modoc / Yellow Jacket.
I thought that bit was quite good, because it was pretty brutal that they just took him out, because he's quite a big actor as well. They just kind of took him out of the game like that. But then I watched the rest of it on Saturday night, and I was watching it. But see, he's like the kind of, the weird kind of alien, or kind of, they weren't all aliens, but they had like people with tentacles wrapped around them and different things like that. It seemed to just get more ridiculous as it went, and I really started struggling to focus. Like I watched it, but I just started like randomly doing like different things, like on my phone, or just bits and pieces around the house. Like it was on, but I really just lost, probably similar to you guys, I lost the train of thought. And there's bits of it I don't mind. Like I like the fact there's clearly like an established history in the world. Like there's a lot of references to like big battles in the past, but I feel like the stuff that happened in the past was more interesting than the stuff that's happening in the present.
Yeah.
So like, I thought the world building in that sense was quite good. There was a feeling that there has been like history, but I don't think the execution, like obviously if I'm zoning out for like more than half the movie, then obviously it's not really capturing the attention in that way. But I felt there was like bits of the world building in the story I quite liked, but
Yeah.
it didn't really hold together in that sense.
No, I know what you mean about the world, but I don't know if this is his world building or he's taking bits and pieces from other places to build his worlds, if you know what I mean. Because like there's been a lot drawn to, I actually wish we had someone on that was a bit more familiar with the Warhammer 40k universe. I'm very, very limited in my knowledge of it, because I caught one of Chats and Ami's episodes, actually, him and on his Patreons, Robotic Battle Toaster, they did an episode on Warhammer 40k. And even me with very limited knowledge, I could tell they ripped stuff straight out of that universe. Like, see the soldiers with the green armor. They're basically just Imperial Guardsmen from the Warhammer 40k universe. Like, near enough the same thing. The weapons are kind of close to Warhammer 40k weaponry, and like when they talk, like they're talking about like I can't remember what it's called, like the Academy Militaris and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the kind of way they talk in Warhammer, like kind of Latin almost, like words for things. So I don't know. It might even be better if I had somebody 40k more into that to tell, but it's hard to say what's original and what's been taken from other places.
I don't know anything about that, I must admit.
Yeah, I'm very limited on it as well. I think probably if we had Chats and Amy, probably would tell us like everything about it, but it's one of those things that if you look at it, you probably see it. Like, see if you looked up what Imperial Guardsmen, you're probably like, that's those guys, pretty much. But anyway, we'll probably get into that in the main meat of the episode. So overview, really, I think all three of us struggled with the movie itself. For it to be billed as a Star Wars killer, and for all of us to be kind of...
Why was it called a Star Wars killer, may I ask?
I think that was probably
the
Snyder fans who...
Does it mean like it was going to replace Star Wars as like
number
top tier
one, yeah.
sci-fi, or
pretty much, yeah. It's hard because that's what you're saying when you've done the kind of promotional post for it. It's very polarizing. There's people that I've seen have said this is the best film that they've ever seen. It's a masterpiece. It's shot so well. Characters are the best they've seen, and it's just like it goes to the like way too extreme. And it's like, how can you say that? Like, I'm not for poo-pooing like anyone's opinion, but when you see it, you can like, you need to take off your Snyder shaped lenses. Like, he's not going to winch you, mate. Just calm down.
It's a decent cast as well, with Anthony Hopkins and the guy from the two guys from Game of Thrones. It's not like
Yeah,
and
you got the boy from Gladiator.
And the guy, I forgot his name, the guy, Ant-Man guy.
I can't remember his name either. It's I can't remember. Anyway, so that was our kind of general overview. I'm just going to read some of the comments we got behind. We got about 14 comments.
General overview.
Hey.
So the first one is from So Wizard Podcast. I was doing this because I think sometimes we feel like we kind of tacked on at the end and we just kind of read it without actually taking in what they're saying. So I think maybe if we just do this, we'll go into it a bit more.
I like it. It's better for our engagement as well. I think if we're actually talking about what people are saying, I think they're more likely to comment.
Yeah. This one's a bit shallow enough. I think it's probably Joey from So Wizard Podcast. I can pretty much guarantee it's Joey. Zack Snyder took Warhammer 40k, Sucker Punch, and Star Wars and threw them in a blender. I liked it though. I liked it enough. And Sophia Boutella is 11 out of 10 hot. Plus, I didn't have to leave the house to watch it.
It's always a bonus.
It is always a bonus. I don't know. Do you think it would have worked maybe more on the big screen if you didn't have all these distractions? Probably not.
I suppose that way you would have had to have watched it in the whole way through. But I think maybe actually that's a good point.
Yeah, maybe the planets and that might look better and stuff. I don't know. So that was So Wizard Podcast. We had Service and Sacrifice, which I think is Justin from. He used to be on the We Love Horror podcast. He says, I think people are too harsh on this film. It was fine. When I go into a Netflix film, I'm not expecting much. I think most of the hate comes from people thinking it is a Star Wars spin-off.
I don't think anyone thought that.
No.
It's fine.
It's a spin-off.
Is fine a great word? See if you're going to like describe a movie. See if you're trying to get me to go see it and you told me it was fine. It's not really selling it, is it? Yeah.
And I think between the two movies, because they filmed them back to back, I think the budget was like 160 million. So to spend 160 million, assemble this cast just for a fine movie, it's just kind of like, is that money well spent?
Yeah, imagine watching parts 1 and 2, which would be the length of like the Justice League cut. Imagine sitting watching that in one go.
I know, it's it's not even worth thinking about. And then I actually said to him, I was like, I don't really see many original ideas. And he said, yeah, considering it was from Snyder, this was not his best work. And like, I'm not one of these guys that hates on Zack Snyder. I don't mind him at all, but like some of the films he's made have been good and some have been absolutely root rank rotten. Like 300. I love 300. Like I really like that film. Have any of you seen Army of the Dead? I've talked this about a couple of times.
No.
Have you seen it, James?
Who's in it again?
Dave Bautista.
I'm sure, is it a zombie one? Is it?
Zombie one, aye.
Aye, I've seen that one. Aye. Actually, no, that was actually all right.
Oh my god, that was honking.
I thought it was all right, mate. To be honest with you, if I can remember it right.
Colin, maybe chuck him off. So We Needed Roads podcast said it really tries to be Star Wars but adult, except it's not because Netflix is doing this weird director's cut thing where I guess it's a bit more violent and they'll try to get everyone to watch it again. It looks very nice and some of the acting is good, but overall it's meh, which I think is a fair assessment. I don't really see what's not adult about Star Wars right enough. I think
Jar Jar.
Yeah, like apart from the comedy, like it's pretty. I don't know.
It's trying to be Andor,
I do see what he's saying. I do see what he's saying. Because there isn't really much comedy in this.
I don't remember laughing once, if I'm honest.
Actually, probably not. Some of the acting is good, but overall it's meh. Yeah, I don't really know much of the acting was that great either. I thought there were some weird decisions that were made. Like Charlie Hunnam putting on a weird Irish accent.
I know, I was going to do that. I was going to do that, an Irish accent.
It
later in
sounded
college.
weird hearing an Irish accent in the middle of this kind of outworldly experience.
Yeah. That's
Took
half
me by
expecting him to.
surprise.
Yeah, that's half expecting him to go. To be sure. Like happy with it, just to
Did
to
you
reinforce
expect?
it.
Did you expect him to be a traitor?
At the end, I think I did. I think the whole movie I was kind of like, he joined up really easy. Like I don't really understand what his deal is in all this, because the first thing he says like, I'm an opportunist,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, so why are you joining these two guys that have nothing?
Do you not think there seemed to be a wee spark between him and the lead? Because the any like relationships seem quite unfocused. I felt like there was a guy at the start of the film, I think, that she fancied, and then they were saying how Dario Naharis was in love with her, but then she was kind of flirting with the Irish guy as well.
The hunter.
So
And
it was
she's stayed the night with the hunter guy.
it was a wee bit unfocused in terms of building any kind of romantic relationships, if that's what they were looking for.
Yeah, 100%. I think that kind of leads into this as well from the Fandalorians. They said the lack of compelling characters was the reason it was poorly received. If you don't care about the character, then you don't care about their journey.
Do you not think the lead basically had the kind of storyline of Gamora in the MCU, how there was like somebody trying to take over the world and she basically becomes like an adopted daughter? I kind of noticed that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never noticed that one either. That's a good grab.
No, I was just thinking about it because I've watched what film is it you get? Is it Infinity War or Endgame?
Infinity
You get
War.
her kind of flashbacks, isn't it?
Yeah, Infinity War, yeah.
I was thinking about that when I was watching it. It was quite, maybe that was another copy and paste.
That's quite good. I never actually noticed that, so that's quite a good one to spot, actually.
Yeah, I did a good thing.
It's one of the films I've not written down, to be fair. I've written down a number of things, but Infinity War wasn't one of them.
Let's see. The Multiverse Kids show. So that's Rafa's kids, isn't it? Raphael.
Mm-hmm.
They said, I think this would have worked better as an episodic TV series, which I think it possibly might have if we had more time with the different characters. It possibly could have made it slightly more enjoyable, but we'll never know.
No. I suppose that's what TV's for, isn't it? Given that more time, although it's the kind of show you might not have went back after the first episode or the second episode if the vibe was similar.
You'd have to make it more compelling, though, wouldn't they? They would have to make it more, because the characterization in this film is terrible. And I think it might have worked as a TV show. You know, most things come out are TV shows, aren't they? But I think it probably would have worked better. But granted that you would have to have put in the content a bit more streamlined or whatever. But
we should rewrite this. That could be an episode.
No, thank you.
Rebelman rewrite. So we've got the Suns and Shadowcast, good pals of ours. They said, we have thoughts, but do you want the theatrical cut or the Snyder cut of those? And we never actually got either of those, but I think if we had the Snyder cut of those, we'd not have enough time in this episode. Because Snyder doesn't do theatrical for some reason.
I point blank refused to watch Justice League with the length of it, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, it's no much better. The only difference is instead of going for 3 pisses during the movie, you go for 20 pisses.
I just can't really get into DC at all. Like, I enjoy the Batman movies on the most part. I quite like Man of Steel, but just generally speaking, I can't really get into them that much.
No, I like the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one. I
like the Batman movies. I enjoyed Man of Steel, but all the kind of other ones, I've never even seen the Aquaman films or anything like that. I just can't really bring myself to even try. Other ones like that. Okay. I could just watch the Book of Boba Fett then.
Yeah, true. What's the script? I think this is probably Chris. Said had potential but poorly executed, which I feel is concise and to the point, unlike a Snyder film.
That's tame coming from them.
I know. I was expecting a few F-bombs and a few C-words, but no, it's fair enough. Flash film review said, looked great, but felt so dull and boring, which I think we can all agree upon. It was that, indeed. Chatsunami says, its main failing is that it should have been a series. Instead, it tries to cram far too much into its runtime and tells a story that's been told 1,000 times before, but worse. What's worse, it borrows from several sci-fi aesthetics, yet never delivers on any. Christ almighty, I cannot speak tonight. Can't read tonight. And then, in reply to that, Lorry Time podcast said, and apparently there's a director's cut. Why can't Snyder just release his cut and we can get rid of this? Oh, I have a director's cut that makes all of this make sense.
How did they get away with actually just having lightsabers? Like, I want to know how they managed that.
Because they were blades that just turned really hot. They're not lightsabers. God, Colin, did you not watch the movie?
I tried to.
But don't worry, we will dissect these when we get into the character segment. Anthony F says, the fight scenes were good, though slow-mo overuse became a bit grating. The universe has some good elements, but it didn't fully stand out as its own memorable thing. The story is a quest gathering characters. Again, it's all right, but nothing special. By the way, I meant to mention, my name on the screen is Milius. I will give you a $5 if anyone can tell me who Milius is in this movie.
I don't even know.
And they are a main character.
Milius. I think you've made that up.
No, I'm not a bloody clue, man. Honestly, the characters were just everywhere.
So remember the rebels and the Blood Axes, the brother and sister?
Yeah.
And then one soldier steps out and is like, oh, somebody has to make sure you come back alive.
Even when you're saying that, I don't even know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so it's a character called Milius, played by E. Duffy, and they're a non-binary character.
Oh, yeah, they were part of the rebels and they kind of stepped forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we have the Modus Files said, the story is surface only and confusing. I like the characters, but overall, the plot is a mess. And then some guy, John Dimitri, decided to leave us his letterbox review, and it was a 5 out of 5, and he actually wrote a big essay on it. And I think he's an award-winning critic, or an ex-award-winning critic, and he gave this film 5 out of 5. We were obviously doing something wrong, boys, because we didn't think it was a 5 out of 5.
Like I said, man, everybody's entitled to their opinion, you know what I mean? It's
true.
Can't be putting a film out that everybody loves, do you know what I mean? It's...
Well, this guy really loved this.
Yeah,
How come you got all these...
loved it.
Can't believe you got all these replies for Rebel Moon and we got like one reply per Wonka.
No, you got plenty in the promo before that.
I know, but that was just me saying I went to see it, I think. It wasn't when I was actually asking for replies.
Mm-hmm. And then the final one is a guy called Max. He says, derivative of Star Wars, Warhammer 40k, and the Seven Samurai without any compelling drama. Could have been 20 to 30 minutes shorter and not missed any plot points. So that is the comments. I know we were saying before it's quite a polarising movie, but as I said, 95% of that is pretty negative. There was only one, and he was a bit overzealous with the 5 stars. I don't mean to poo-poo his opinion. Everyone's entitled to one, like James said, even if they're wrong.
Everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion.
So now we're going to go into just a wee section, just because it's the whole point of this film is to gather characters. I don't know if just because if it's a part 1, we should be giving them slack or not, but we'll talk about that in this wee section. But the first couple of characters, we're going to put them together because we meet them at the same time, kind of pretty much, almost. So it is our main protagonist, Cora, who's played by Sofia Boutella, who's 11 out of 10 in Joey's estimations. And Gunnar, who's played by Michael Huseman, I think I'm probably going to butcher all his names, by the way. And they both been pretty big things. Cora, she was in the Mummy movie, the failed kind of reboot of the Dark Universe movies with Tom Cruise. She was the Mummy in that, and she was also Knife Legs and Kingsman, but I can't remember her name in that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure why you put that earlier.
I don't know how much.
I've kind of erased. Was that the third one?
The first one,
Was it the first
the
one?
one you love.
Oh, yeah. The third one was rubbish, though.
And Michael Huseman was Daryl Harris in Game of Thrones, and he was also in The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, which is a really decent series. He was the older brother. So we're just going to talk about their introductions and their kind of journey through the movie, see how they developed and what we thought kind of overall of the characters. And we're just going to do that for the kind of main characters in the movie. So I don't know who wants to go first. James, do you want to go first on this one? What did you think of
James
Colin
went first the last time?
Because he has better opinions.
But you can go. I know, but then I've got nothing to say after.
Sorry, Paul, can you repeat what you want to say there last? Because Colin just interrupted you.
I was just saying that you have lots of better opinions. That's why you're to go first, James.
So basically, so when we first get into just the Cora, really, like I say, I wasn't really sure whether she was the main character or not. Do you know what I mean? I think at the start of the film, correct me if I'm wrong here, she was kind of in the distance and she was like kind of burying things, wasn't she?
She was pulling out a rock out of the field because she was ploughing the field and her plough got stuck in the rock.
Aye.
And then for some reason it looked like she was going to eat the dirt, but
aye. So nothing was really obvious to me at the start. It wasn't really explained right away. But when you got to kind of meet Cora and be able to kind of see what she's all about, because one thing I've written down here is that, you know, when the dreadnought kind of comes, you know, when it appears in the sky, it's like the guy goes, "What do you think that they want?" And it's like, well, right away you can tell that something bad's going to happen. But the camera cuts to Cora and she's letting on that she knows more than anybody else there. And so why is that? So it was mysterious. The character was quite mysterious at the beginning. And I did grow to like her. Do you know what I mean? I think we didn't really know anything at the start. It was quite mysterious. Then, as time progressed through the film, we get to know her backstory. She kind of, like I did with the film, she kind of dipped in and out of it. A backstory explaining, you know, to different people and to the audience what her background was, and then we learned to find that she was the Gamora of this universe, and she's the most wanted. Was it the most wanted person in the universe? Is that what it said?
Yeah, I think so. I think is it trying to set up that she killed the king,
and
the queen and the princess? I think that's pretty much what it's alluding to, isn't it?
I think so. I did like the introduction of Gunnar as well. Gunnar was the other character you were talking about, wasn't it? You wanted to talk about?
Yeah.
I did like Gunnar. To be fair, you can tell that he's basically he's like the least skilled at them all. Do you know what I mean? But his character's quite brave. So introduction, you could see, and he was, even when his name came in, Atticus Noble came in, he was you know, talking for them and all that sort of stuff, and
he put himself forward.
Aye, so he was brave in that regard, I think. So that was like to kind of see his character, you know, no develop as such. It was an introduction to him, but you could say, oh, that guy's he's a no bad guy. Do you know what I mean? So I think the initial introduction with Gunnar was fine. With Cora was a wee bit different. I think, you know, as the audience would like to know more. I think it might have engaged us more. I do like mystery in finding out characters and things, but I just think it just took too long for this film, for this character to appear, to appear interesting. Sorry, so aye.
It feels like you're saying at the start, you don't really know much about this, but she's just a bit of an outsider from the village. You don't really know why, and then it's just when they're traveling to the spaceport, she just kind of just dumps her whole life story onto the gunner, and it's kind of like it's went from like nothing to everything in this wee tiny space. I feel like it could have eked it out a bit more, like, but I just felt it was like whole life story from like she's away into like pretty much now, almost now. This is what she did. She was like a whole life story, but that's just me. It seemed like a total kind of exposition dump.
I know they're trying to build the character up over the piece. Do you know what I mean? I get that, but I think it just went on too long for me, mate. To be honest with you, do you know what I mean? I just kind of wanted to know right there and then.
Yeah. What about you, Colin? What's your thoughts on Cora? Maybe not even, probably not too fussed about Gunnar actually, because he does have he's more of a background character. The only thing with Gunnar, just before you jump in, Colin, like you're saying, he was quite brave at the start, and he's brave in the middle when he confronts the spider lady. He goes to save the wee kid.
Aye, I've got that written down too, mate. Aye.
Yeah. And then at the end, Charlie Hunnam's like, "You're nothing but a coward," and it's like, how though? He's been pretty brave. Like,
you're nothing but a coward.
Nothing but a coward. Colin, your turn.
Nah, I'm not doing it. I don't do impressions.
Fair enough.
Oh.
Right. What about your Cora, Colin? What's your thoughts on her?
There wasn't really much going on at the start of note. You obviously realise there's a bit about her when she jumps in to save the blonde-haired girl whose name I forget, most like all the other names.
Sam.
So she shows her fighting chops there, and she's obviously got a history of combat and got some weapons up her sleeve. So there's probably a hint there that there's probably more to her than just someone who's kind of working on the land. I like the scene. Probably the most memorable scene of the film was the one I talked about earlier, with the leader of the community, e.g. guy from Ant-Man. They're talking about the harvest and their supplies, and I thought the villain was quite decent actually. What was his name again? Atticus
Noble.
I thought he was actually quite decent. When he comes
Dario
out,
Harris, number 2.
I was looking at him for a while, and I was like, I recognize him. He looks a bit like what's his name? Peaky Blinders guy.
Oh, Cillian Murphy.
I think he's got a wee bit similar in the face.
Yeah, I don't know if he's lost a lot of weight or something, but he seems quite gaunt in the face, Ed screen, compared to some other films he's on.
I don't really remember that version of Dario Naharis that well, because I remember the actor changing in Game of Thrones, but I didn't really remember it. But anyway, I thought he was quite good. I thought the scene when he arrived in the town, and you're not quite sure what he's going to be like how severe he's going to be, but then he just batters his head in and kills him, and then kills the woman. There's a woman he kind of I don't know if he shoots her or takes her out as well.
I think one of his bodyguards like slices her down with some like electric whip or something like that, or some sword. I don't know. I can really tell. It was quite fast. I missed it.
So Dario Naharis Mark II, he's got a wee bit about him. I think he's a wee bit like maybe like the Han Solo of this movie, in terms of he's like a bit of a wheeler dealer, and he's been involved with like the rebels in the past, and he kind of knows how to survive, because he's obviously saying like, "Oh, we'll give you so much." He obviously changes his tune as time goes on, but yeah, I quite liked him. I didn't dislike a lot of the characters. I just found some of the kind of aliens later on, and the spider ladies, and the guy who had like the coils around him. I thought all that stuff got a bit weird. I think it got a bit weird as it went on.
Yeah, that like see, you're talking about the alien the tentacles around the neck.
Aye.
I feel like that was like the cantina scene, like Zack Snyder's cantina scene.
I was going to say to you that was like the cantina scene. That reminded me a bit of a Burgullet from Rogue One.
Well, I was going to say Independence Day because, like, in the Independence Day with Will Smith, the alien wraps its tentacle around one of the scientists and speaks to the scientist, and I was like, it's kind of like the same thing, isn't it?
Aye.
I found it quite creepy, to be honest.
It was a wee bit weird, aye. Found a bit, yeah. Are you going
to touch on Atticus Noble just at this scene? Because I think that scene what Colin was talking about, you know, when he's talking to him about the harvesting and things like that, and you don't know what he's going to say.
He's the next character on the list.
Like when he came off, he was so polite, wasn't he? He was acting as if they were there to be friends and whatever. But you know, when
he starts off with a big hug, doesn't he? Like, come on, here's the embrace of the motherland.
But even before that, when you come off a ship like that and you've got a Nazi uniform on, there's only come on, let's be honest. The audience know here, and Cora certainly knows as well that they're not here to make friends. And you know, basically, the guy who he batters, forgive me for names here. He batters his head in.
It's Sindri, I think is the father, it's Sindri.
So basically he lied to him, didn't he, anyway? Because he couldn't grow the harvest, he's not harvesting all that sort of stuff, it wasn't going to happen. And then Gunnar tells him he could do it, etc., etc. And that's the moment when he just turns around and you thought for a minute he was going to do in Gunnar. Well, I did anyway, and then he turns around and does in the big one. So I think that was, we all knew as an audience that this wasn't going to end well. I mean, they're going to take over here, and he didn't really care whether or not if they lived or died anyway, because you know you're coming back in 10 weeks to get the harvest, and he's basically said we're going to die, we won't be able to starve to death, and he's like, well, that's not my problem. Do you know what I mean? This is like a punishment now. But I think I quite liked that scene. That was probably the most notable scene. At the start anyway, that I stood up and goes, well, no, this is actually not bad now. I think I'm starting to a wee bit of action here. It's moving somewhere, and and I quite liked his portrayal of that character.
That's what I was saying at the start. Like, I actually quite enjoyed the first half hour. Like, I'm not saying the whole film was good. Obviously, I think as it went on, it really started to drag and lost me, but if I just stopped after half an hour, I'd have probably looked back and said that was actually quite good. Maybe I should have went back and watched the rest. Like, I did actually quite like the first half up to like that kind of point. That's where I kind of stopped the first time for like my first segment.
Yeah. I think it was quite good. I did enjoy Noble's character. The imagery of it all, and like you're saying, his kind of demeanour, he's kind of acting friendly, but you know he's kind of got like a bad side to him. And then throughout the movie, it turns out is he like a bit of a junkie or something, because he plugs like things into himself, and then he has
I thought it was like leeches or something.
Yeah, I think that was after. There's leeches as well, but I think there's a point where he's like sitting and he just plugs something in, and he's like, and well, we can talk about it anyway. Like, at the end, like I thought he'd be dead, like because he got stabbed and he fell off a floating platform and landed on rocks, and they still managed to bring him back alive. I don't know if that was a good choice or not. Can
we speak about that moment for a second?
We can, because I think I know what you're going to say.
Plug him into the Matrix, why don't you?
Aye, with a wee sprinkle of demolition, man. when he goes in the I think, what did Scarlett describe it as a womb? He went in a womb.
Aye.
But it just reminded me of like when he's getting defrosted, when Sylvester Stallone's getting defrosted.
Aye. I think that Demolition Man there, man, that's a good one actually. Just the Matrix for me. I was like, he's been plugged into the Matrix, and then you know he's back out. But how fortunate was that though to land in that rock in the middle? It was, you know,
that not sharp rock. And they apparently have, what do you call it? They have technology to bring people back from the dead. So, depending on how bad the king and queen were, I did not bring the king and queen back. You could just
I
zap them.
I obviously said the first time I watched like the second half of the film, I lost concentration quite a lot. So when I rewatched it, the last kind of bit, just before I started getting ready for going to work or whatever, the last scene that was on the telly was just when he's lying face down with no clothes on and all the stuff plugged into him. That was like the last visual I had of the film.
The only thing I didn't like about his character, it wasn't his character, it was more the way it was written, was when everyone's captured at the end and he goes around just exposition dumping on everybody who they are. Like, oh, this is such and such from such and such, famous for this. This is such and such famous for this. And it goes around to every single person. And it's like, this is probably stuff we should have seen rather than just heard now. Like, we've had the whole movie.
They did it twice. Something I kind of made a mental note of. They did it once, and then in the very next scene, they basically did like the exact same thing again, where they explained who everybody was and what they'd done.
What scene was that?
It was the scene you were talking about, but I'm sure like the direct scene after, they did like a variation of it, which was pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah, okay. I must have. To be fair, they probably did, and I just
and
missed it.
I quite liked it the first time they did it because it helped. It helped me remember who everybody was in advance of doing this.
But this is the arse end of the movie. You shouldn't be just introducing everybody as right at the end. You know what I mean?
I know, because it was just such a. All the characters seemed like they were interesting people in the past, but they just kind of like pulled them together with no real, like, there's no real like chemistry or like. See, people. A big criticism people had of Rogue One, rightly or wrongly, was that some of the characters were a wee bit forgettable. I kind of disagree with it. I think like Shiru and the likes were quite memorable, but that was a criticism Rogue One got, that they kind of just pulled a squad together and you didn't get a lot of time with them.
But the only difference is, like, in these movies, all the characters have time to speak with each other. So even though these people are like gathered together, there's never any scenes where they're having like banter with each other or talking to each other or just having a moment. It's just Cora, Kai, the Irish Charlie Hunnam, and Gunner, and then everybody else just kind of swept aside. They maybe get one line in here or there, but it feels like nobody, even when they get back in the ship, just nobody speaks to each other, or you never see them speak to each other, so you don't know anything about anyone. You know what I mean?
I think when they were writing it, they realised near the end that they hadn't really explained who people were, so I was like, right, we just need to throw in a scene where we name everybody.
And then people are saying because it's part one, you know, like save it for part two, like it's probably just setting up for part two, but can you really excuse that? If you're going to set up a big trilogy, you know, this movie's on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. You can devote some time to character development, you know what I mean?
Do you think you guys will watch part two?
I kind of want to, just because I want to see where it's going, but I'm not looking forward to it as much as I should be. I don't think.
Will we do a part two?
I hope so. We'll see how this goes. You know, if it gets over 10 views, maybe
James is doing his hair that day.
Well, we better rattle through these characters because, to be fair, not a lot of them have a lot of stuff going on with them. So the next one was the robot. Anthony Hopkins voices it. He did the narration at the start as well. I think the robot looks really good, the actual motion capture wise and the visuals of it. Anthony Hopkins' voice could melt butter, so you know I'm all for it. The only thing that just kind of irked me was, you know, when they first open up the box that the robot's in, and the two soldiers are there, the kind of boss guy and the pure dick lieutenant or whatever it is, or captain or sergeant or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
And the guy's like, "Hey boss, look at that, they left us a Jimmy." And the boss guy's like, as if he doesn't know what a Jimmy is. So the kind of sergeant's like, "Oh, you know, during the war and that, they used to fight, and then when the princess died, you know, they laid in alarms. Look, I can do all this to them." And I'm thinking, surely if the other guy's in charge, he would know everything about it, and like this wee guy wouldn't have to explain what this robot is to him, and it's just a clear, again, an exposition dump to tell the viewers who he is. But I just felt it was done in a really poor way.
No,
You know what I'm coming from?
Oh, definitely. I don't. Never really thought about it like that. To be honest with you, I just thought it was a cool robot, man. It was, but the guy, that the lieutenant guy, was annoying me. He was just like, he was shooting it, like, don't fight back, whatever. He was shooting it and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, you're right. He's explaining to the general. I don't know what his title was, but
superior enemy.
Aye, as if like, well, you're right. You would expect your superior to know way more than you do, and he's having to explain this what the Jimmy robot is. Do you know what I mean? And their past and where they are, where he is now. So you're right, man. No really thought about it like that. I was just kind of getting a bit pissed off. He was just shooting the robot, man. I mean, but aye.
I thought sorry, you go.
No, you.
No, I was just saying, I thought the robot was really wasted because obviously they had Anthony Hopkins in. He's quite prominent in the first kind of half hour, 40 minutes. He gets his cool wee like flower headdress.
Easy chain crown.
But then he kind of just disappears till the end, and he's just sitting in the field. Like I thought he was maybe going to become part of the crew and part of the adventure.
Yeah. I think he's going to be more prominent in part 2, to be fair. But I don't know. This may be a spoiler. I don't know. It's just what I was thinking the other night when I was watching it was, like it was saying, like the princess is dead and the robots threw down their arms. I've got a feeling that the princess is going to be alive somehow. I don't know, somehow, and that the robots are going to rise up and help the revolution, and he's going to be like a leader of the robots. I don't know what you think about that.
Imagine part 2 was like the best movie ever.
It could be.
Because we see obviously the robot when he's down by the water, he's like washing his face and stuff like that. He was chatting to the girl, and she gives him that kind of flowery headband thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see him again when we get to the scene in the barn, isn't it? The whole fight scene was great, but you don't. After that, you don't see him again. He runs away, and at the very end, you see him again with his antlers. Now I looked this up because I was like, there must be some sort of mythology about this, but it's to symbolise the evolution of growing and that sort of stuff. So I suspect we'll see him again in the next film. Well, I won't see him again in the next film because I'll not be watching it, but I'm sure you guys will be. But that's what that means.
No, I think it will be very prominent in the next one. I'd imagine, but I'm looking forward to it. So he had quite a small role again, like we were saying. The next one is Kai, Charlie Hunnam. What was your thoughts, Colin?
Not really a lot of thoughts, to be honest. I think he kind of arrived at a part of the film where I'd lost interest. So he was kind of just there, and then he was kind of outed as a traitor. He had a wee bit of flirting kind of midway through. He seemed like a nice guy, so I guess I was a wee bit taken aback when he was proven to be the villain, but because I actually drifted off so much. Like, see, the second time I watched it, I couldn't actually remember where and why the big battle at the end occurred, but obviously it happened because he led everybody to them. So he's a big part of the plot, and I think I was quite surprised by him becoming the traitor.
I don't know. It just never really sat right with me. I can't remember if I said this off air or if I did it at the start, but it's just his motivations at the start, why he joined up. I just couldn't figure out at the start. I was like, why? That was so easy to him to get recruited, and now they've just got a ship. It was just like a really convenient plot, if you know what I mean.
And what was it said?
It's kind of like Han Solo in the cantina, right enough, but they were doing it out of a shared kind of who's going to get paid like quite a lot, and but in this it was like we don't have anything. And he's like, all right, well just pay me what it's worth to use. It's fine. And he's like really nice about it. And it's like it's just really weird. This doesn't seem like he should be acting like this. That's what kind of threw me off. And I was like, I don't like him.
I don't think I thought deep enough about this film, to be honest, to start forming theories.
Oh, I watched it 3 times, and I was like,
Three times?
Just the first. Yeah, I know. I torture myself for this podcast.
You still haven't finished Hawkeye?
No, but and he is part of he's probably the biggest part of the whole movie, to be fair, because he's the one that gives Gunnar the opportunity to free everyone at the end as well, which I find is a really weird device, like the kind of paralyzing machine. Yeah, I don't understand why the trigger thing would automatically release the person as well. That's a really weird contraption that I don't understand how it works. And like at the end, like I don't feel it explains anywhere in the movie like this gun should be able to do that. So when it happens, you're just kind of like, what just happened? Like why did that just release him? And it happens really quickly. That's getting off topic of the character, but he's pretty much the whole driving force behind getting everyone together, and then for Connor's release, it ultimately end up. So, yeah, and his accent was a bit whiffy at times. But what do you think, James, of him overall?
I'm just going to go back to the Katina scene, really, because that scene, I think, mirrors Star Wars in a certain way, because obviously we meet Han Solo at that point as well, and then we meet Kai at this point. Difference is, see when Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan, meet Han Solo, as the smuggler, they do it in a kind of covert manner. They're talking in a booth, whereas here we've got Cora shouting out, "Bloody! I'm looking for Titus." And then
does anyone know where General Titus is?
Does anyone know that? And he's like, "Well, I can get you there or whatever." Do you know what I mean? And I know people who can get you there. So they're written down the word opportunist. He says that. So, and they're like, "We can't pay you," but he's not doing this for nothing. There has to be some kind of end game for this guy. He's not tagging along for absolutely nothing. So there was a wee bit of that with me as well. But unsure where his character was going, and through when he got when he got on the ship and whatever, it was like, I can take you to here to go and see the next character we're going to introduce. Tarek, his name is.
Tarek, yeah.
Tarek, so we're going to go in. So it's his idea to get him, as it is to get Nemesis as well, because he's thinking already that he's going to round these people up, and but he doesn't know who she is. He doesn't know at this point who Cora actually is, and it's not until later on he clicks that it's her, who she is.
What's his name again? Arthur Lewis or something?
Arthur Lewis, aye.
These names don't really roll off the tongue, do they? Arthur
Lewis. No. I'm like, how do you spell that? I'm writing it down.
There's also the bit at the end. She's with her gang of comrades, and one of them asks her, like, "Are you the name you just said?" And then she denies it. So she's not even really being honest with like her team, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know. I feel like if she's the most wanted criminal in the galaxy, and she was also like a decorated soldier in what's it? It's not in the Imperium. That's Warhammer 40k. Whatever they're called, whatever the army's called. The Mother World's armies. Should maybe be well known, possibly, like face wise. I don't know. It just seems very wishy washy to me, the whole thing. But it's just me.
Can I go back to the robot chairs for a wee second?
You can, sir.
So those robot chairs with the paralysing device were pretty cool. I thought anyway. Sorry. But first introduced to that when Kai goes to find his contact to get Tarek. I'm sure it is anyway. and he's in this device, and he's like, what's going on, man? This device has captured him, and he, the piercing thing just through his head. And then we go later on into the last scene, if you like, the robot chairs. Everybody's got a robot chair, with the exception of Gunnar. Why is that? I don't know. Is he lost count of them all? I don't know. And so Gunnar had to play an integral part to that. But also, right, so see when the robot chair, when they're released, at one point they're all kind of fighting, they're all being released, but the robot chair doesn't actually, like, it goes to the person it was kind of programmed to. It didn't like capture the first person and then put them back in the chair. So it was almost as if the robot chairs were programmed to capture a particular person. That's the way I thought about it anyway, because it's like you had all these rebels kind of, fighting, but the robot chair kind of passed one and then went right and got the person that it had. So I found that a bit strange. But I thought the devices were pretty cool anyway, man.
I think James secretly liked this film.
No,
he just likes something to get his critical teeth into.
I like certain aspects of it, man, but I don't want to give my seismic stars away too soon.
Okay. We'll move on to the next one. Tarak, played by Stas Nair. I think that's how you say it. So yeah, what did you think, James, of Tarak's introduction and how he came about to be in the movie?
Well, what can I say, man? So we find this guy. He's basically a slave, isn't he? He has to pay his debts to this kind of, what do you call this guy? Is it Rambo they call him?
Rancher or something? I thought he was a rancher.
Rancher. And this guy, this Tarek's working off his debt. I don't know much of the backstory about that, how that happened. I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically, he says, well, we don't have any money to give you. We can't buy his debt. And the guy's basically this, he's a gambling man. So he's bet, Tarek, that can you ride this hippogriff, this buckbeak, and if he can do it, then he's free to go. But if he doesn't do it, then he's going to, enslave Kai and Cora and Gunnar. Which I think if this is Kai's plan, then he's put himself in danger as well, because he had no idea what if he could do this or no. So he was, prepared to give that up. Anyway, where was I? So Tarek, he managed to ride Buckbeak and he got back. Although the question to be said is, why did they return? You could have just fucked off, couldn't you? But then he came back. But that would have been good for the plot, I suppose. So basically, to
be fair, they could have got there and the guy could have went, he's my slave. Get to, and they'd be like, all right. But instead he offers this gamble that's just too good to be true.
I think his character, we don't really know much about him, to be honest with you. I think he came into the scene, he's no fear. He's no scared of anything, do you know what I mean? He's and I suppose that's a good thing for what they needed. They needed to get him. But
see in the final fight, did you see him doing any fighting?
No, I don't remember much. I don't.
That's what I was thinking about today. Is like I've seen a couple of shots of Titus shooting a gun and the rebels shooting, but I didn't actually see this Tarak guy doing anything except throw a rope over at the end. That was it. That's all I remember him doing. So he must be some warrior.
He's wanted anyway, isn't he? So, but I thought what I took from that whole introduction to him is cool. He can ride a hippogriff. They've just ripped it right off of Harry Potter.
Aye. What did you think, Colin?
I don't know if hippogriffs. I don't know if there's a hippogriff character in Warhammer either. I don't know. So it could be ripped off that as well. I don't know.
It's a mishmash. I just thought it was. I thought it was quite inoffensive. Really, like he didn't do anything particularly special, but he seemed like a decent enough guy anyway. As you said, he didn't really do very much. It also reminded me of that scene in the. Remember that really like fever dream episode of Mandalorian season 3 when they had to like fight the big chickens? It kind of reminded me a bit of that as well.
It's just, I don't know. I feel like I've seen something. It's actually probably, I think, like, like Grogu when he's like taming the Rancor. I feel like that's the scene that reminds me of this scene where he's trying to tame the buckbeak.
Maybe they should have just made this a Star Wars film.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It just feels like they thought, it'd be cool, some sort of space Native American, and then they just fired this in. So he had a pretty non-event after the buckbeak taming. So we're going to Nemesis, the Jedi Witch. So who went last there? Was that you, James? I went last first there.
Aye, so Colin shot.
There you go, Colin. You get the real Star Wars rip-off. There you go.
I think I'd heard before I watched it that there was like a lot of Star Wars elements, so I was probably half expecting something like this, but I don't know. My main view is they tried to pack just far too many characters into this. I felt I was getting quite fatigued as we met this person, Like by the time you met the whole squad, the movie's basically done, and like as we've said, you've kind of forgotten their names. So, so was this? Was this the person? No, that's. So there was the person hanging down. Was this the person hanging down with the baby, or was this somebody else that was in that scene?
Yeah, so this is Spider Lady.
So this is the one that was hanging down that had the child. So like her own children had all been.
Aye, so basically when they'd colonized the planet, they'd poisoned the planet because it was a mine. I think it was the mines of Dagus, I think it was called. And basically caused whatever species this Spider Lady was, it caused her eggs to not hatch and kill her children, basically. So she was having her revenge by stealing the children of the miners and eating them, I think.
It just seems like I don't know. I just felt like, see, once they got to the cantina and you had the weird alien guy that started hitting on Dario. I don't know. I just felt that the film and the kind of second half of it just started getting really bizarre and just kept throwing more things into the fire. So like, I think by the time I got to Spider Lady, I was a wee bit like done with the film a wee bit, and I just wasn't really focusing. I don't know if that's how you guys felt.
Well, I can't. When you seen her, I was kind of like, she's got an intriguing look about her. When the Spider Lady came down, I was like, this is pretty cool. But
I don't like weird things.
No, it was weird, but I didn't mind it. But I was actually on the side of the Spider Lady. I thought, she's no Rang here. She's no Rang. But then the fight scene broke out, and I was kind of like, it looks cool. The first time I watched it, I was like, I look pretty cool. Like, it was pretty. Didn't mind that. But then I watched it the second time, and I was like, she's got these lightsabers. Why did she not open up with this at the start instead of waiting 3/4 of the way through the fight to like eventually light them up? Because before that they were doing absolutely nothing. They were just blades. And the whole fight scene, like their crew is just standing in the background watching. And a couple of times it cuts to Tarak's face and he's just kind of just sitting there like, oh. And even when Gunnar goes to save the wee girl, the Spider Lady has like a good few shots at him, like swinging her legs and stuff, and not once does anyone in the background go help him or nothing. Like Cora, you'd think Cora would jump in and try to help him or something, but they literally all just stand in the background. And I don't know if this is like a Zack Snyder thing, because in that Army of the Dead film, there's a scene where this one lassie gets separated from the main group. Then she fights her way back to the main group, and she's absolutely kicking butt. Like she's taking the zombies left, right, and centre. And then she gets to a point where she's about, say, 25 meters away from the main group, and she is killing all these zombies all around her, and the main group is just standing there watching. and then she eventually gets eaten, and it's like, why did none of them help this one person? And it was kind of like the same here, like as if they didn't know what to do with the rest of the cast, so we just let this cool scene happen. But logically, it didn't make sense because you had all these people that could help, and they did absolutely nothing.
But lightsabers, bro.
But lightsaber, bro, yeah, look cool. And then at the end of this, because it comes into Titus's, at the end of this, she's like, just remember, this could have been any of us. Like, basically, revenge is bad. So we'll take that into Titus in the next. But what did you think of the Nemesis, James, when her introduction?
I honestly couldn't get away from the. Again, Nemesis is a character you don't know anything about. Doesn't say very much. Nothing's explained. So that's obviously still to come, all that. But I mean, I couldn't get away from that whole scene, right? Of the lightsabers, the lightsabers, right? The two lightsabers, right? On top of that, you've got the spider lady, spider woman, call her, I don't know what you call her. But to me, I was watching this and I just shake my head. I'm going, this is bringing me back. For any Doctor Who fans out there, if you cast your mind back to one of the Christmas episodes, one with Catherine Tate, was Donna Noble, first episode. The Arachnos was a species that was basically the Spider Woman. And I was like, surely that's not been ripped off of Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? That's became somewhere else. But that's all I could get out of in my head. It was like, this is, and I lost. Maybe I just kind of lost my way a wee bit there. And I was just getting annoyed that these things are just getting ripped off. If things can get worse, they're already bad, but things are getting worse. So I've written down here.
You talking about Rangers transfer window or the film?
Don't get me started in that. That's for Seismic Soccer number 4.
Jeez, oh man. So I've written down here. Rather than Doctor Who rip-off, Rachnos, Gunnar saves child, least capable, the end. And I've written down the planet. They went to Dagus.
The end. Did you guys remember the names of the planets?
I wrote them down. Yeah. So
Dagus was the main. Velt, I only remember because that's a Dead Mouse song, like I was saying earlier on.
That's a home, aye.
And Sharan, aye. Which I thought the planet itself looked pretty shite. But
anyway, the last one, is it Gundeville?
The kind of outpost landing pad thing, aye.
Grindelwald.
Aye, the crimes of Grindelwald, the crimes of Rebel Moon.
I don't know. I think I'm just bad at remembering names of planets in general. Because seeing like the kind of modern Star Wars films, like half the planets still don't remember what they're called.
Aye, no. I don't know.
Done my homework, Colin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just trying to be professional.
Anyone can read IMDb and write some words down.
Yeah. I actually paused it, mate, and actually written it all down, mate. So take your accusations elsewhere, sir.
Well, Nemesis was played by Bae Doon-na. I think I forgot. I've been saying the names throughout, so that was who played Nemesis. We'll fire on to General Titus because we need to wrap this up, Preston. It's getting a bit of a long one.
Almost as long as the film.
I know. So we finally get to the fabled General Titus, who is at the Colosseum on James. I think it was Pollux.
We've written that one down.
I didn't bother that, but
that's close to your name, Paul, isn't it?
I've had chicken pox. So I don't know what your initial thoughts here, boys, but I was like, right, General Titus at the Colosseum. We're going to see something like Gladiator, when they do the big battles and stuff, and they're going to see some mad epic like tactics and stuff or something crazy. And then it just turns into one big anti-climax where you see, what's his name in real life? Jimon Honsu. I could probably butcher that as well. Just sitting there in a gutter, covered in flies, covered in shite, and just a sorry state of affairs. What did you think, James, on the great General Titus?
I was expecting big things, mate. I was like, they're going to find this guy, and he's going to, show them the way and all the rest of it. And you got there, and he was a mess, wasn't he? He was basically gave up. Basically, I've written down here, he feels guilty, and just wants to die because he feels bad that he's lost all his men and all that stuff. And he promised them he'd look after them, and he didn't do that. So he's feeling sorry for himself as General Titus. So I was a wee bit disappointed in that, just how that introduction. I thought he would be like some sort of, inspiration, but it turned out that she was the inspiration. You know what I mean? So guilt is a big thing in this film. I think there's a theme about guilt. They all kind of feel guilty at some point. You know what I mean? So
yeah. What did you think of Titus, Colin?
Similar to James, it's just a bit of a letdown, like probably most of the characters that came up. But usually I throw Star Wars references in just for the fun of it. But this one, maybe because it was meant to be a Star Wars film. Oh, it's my t-shirt, by the way.
Love it.
What James just described there, that's just literally Luke Skywalker's storyline in Last Jedi. He's given up. All his men died. He doesn't want to live anymore. It's time for the Titus to end.
Yeah.
You would expect it a lot more. Like, you pictured this like really strong general, this like legend, but I suppose it was just following the kind of familiar trait of kind of rundown characters. But like Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker, they at least had a history in the movie. Like, this is a new character that we hadn't met before. So for him to be just to kind of run down, didn't really add much, really.
No, it didn't at all. And the fact that when they finally convince him to join them, it's because Cora's like, oh, if it's not for redemption, go for revenge. And it's like, hold on a minute. Last scene when you're with Nemesis is trying to say revenge is bad. So what's the message here? Like, what are we going for here? There's nothing clear anymore. It's like one person saying one thing, the other person is contradicting them. It's just like, is nobody who's writing this here? And I feel like, you see these characters as well. You see them in one place, and that's it. So, like, see when you see Nemesis, it's just that one wee room she's fighting in, that one wee metallic room, really. When you see Titus, you got this big, massive Colosseum. You're expecting to see like a big, epic scene, and you see him in a wee washroom, and it's kind of like, is this like a big sci-fi epic we're going for here? Like, I feel like a trash compactor was more like more glamorous and A New Hope than this.
It's all about subverting those expectations, yeah.
Well, they're severely subverted.
I think it's difficult in terms of, like, I don't think it will work out for this one, but it is always quite hard to judge a two-parter on a one-part, as we were saying earlier, because this might be a hot take. I think Into the Spider-Verse is like one of my probably my favorite animated film, one of my favorite comic book films. I was quite not let down, it was still a well-made film, but I was left a wee bit disappointed by Across the Spider-Verse, and I don't know if it's because it is a two-parter and it ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. I'd much preferred the first one, but just for this one, it's like there is like another half to come. I know you'll be looking forward to that more if the first half had been better, but I probably will check it out, although I'd have to actually be able to sit through the first one and watch it the whole way through without getting distracted.
And then see the second one, because the first one's been a bit iffy, but this theatrical cut, is the second one going to be a director's cut all the way through, and is it going to be like 5 hours long? And it's like, oh no, it just feels like they've made some weird decisions in this, the way they've wanted to go with it. And I just feel like if you want to start off something and make it epic, you really need to get the first part right. You kind of just half-ass it like they've kind of done here. and expect it like, oh, everybody will come back and watch the rest of it. I don't know. I just feel like this part is very forgettable. This movie.
I'm not a fan of this whole director's cut nonsense. I feel like you release a film, it's either good or it's bad, and then you move on. Like I don't think the movie industry needs like there's enough sequels and reboots and all the different variations you get without having like other versions of the same films. Like we've not even had the good ones. Like there's meant to be like extended editions of like Revenge of the Sith and like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show all put together as a movie. Like you don't see these getting released
No.
Netflix or in the cinema. So why would a film like this be really released?
Zach saying this on this a few times. It's like kind of crutch. It's like if it's good, if the theatrical cut's good, you never hear anything about a director's cut. But then if the theatrical cut's pretty crap, it's like, oh, there's a director's cut. It's so much better. Yeah. It's don't worry, the director's cut will make it's like if you've got a lot of time, like 2 hours and 15 minutes is not a short movie, and it still feels like nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense, but everything's really rushed, and it's just not very satisfying of a movie.
I think this has just became his thing, his like trademark, and he's just kind of milking it as long as he can.
Director's cut in slow motion. That's what it is. That's his.
We didn't even touch on the slow motion. Like you mentioned it, and it's like I wonder how long the film actually would have been if they'd sped up all the slowed down scenes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. What was your favorite?
Because you mentioned it quite a lot.
I did
before I watched it, so I often find that does like I obviously would have picked up on it anyway, but I was kind of waiting. I was kind of waiting for the kind of slow motion to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I probably spoiled it for you that way, kind of thing. I didn't even really mean to, but just when I first watched it, I was like, "Holy hell, man!" Like every second thing is slow motion. Everything epic is slow motion. Like nothing's at full speed. Like you get that slow motion run up the hill with Tarak to jump on the hippogriff. You get a slow motion run of Ray Fisher, the Blood Axe brother, running up the crane. It's like just let it be in full flow.
For me, it takes the tension out of the fight scenes.
Yeah, and even that, like some of the scenes were slow motion. They didn't even need to be slow motion. You know what I mean? They were just there because slow motion.
But surely that's a technique. Less is more. Like you use it maybe once or twice, it's a lot more impactful.
I don't know, man. I don't get paid the big bucks to do that, so I don't know. I think maybe I was going to say the last character is the Blood Axe brother, but he's not in it very long. He gets killed off pretty quick, so I think we can just skip that. He does. The only thing I would say when he takes down the shuttle, I don't understand why the shuttle has controls for the whole shuttle and that one we turret at the side, and it crashes the whole thing down. I thought that was a bit of a weird mechanism. You know, like when he kills the pilot and he falls down on the controls and it makes the whole ship move. It's like why is the gunner got a control for the whole ship?
That's the fella he runs up the crane, isn't it?
Aye.
So I've written this down. So this ship can travel through space, right? But yeah, you can smash the windscreen with a stick and kill the pilot.
It was a big stick though.
Come on, let's get real here, man. Do you know what I mean? But
it's made out of the same glass as Fortress Inquisitorius in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You seen that, James?
No, I haven't seen the Obi-Wan series. No.
What?
See when you watch that underwater fortress, the windies aren't bulletproof.
Right. Okay. Nah, he's not very long, to be honest with you, mate. But again, it's a character that's introduced quite late on in the film and then dies, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes later or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, man.
It seems a little waste because I was intrigued to see more of him. So I had a big
he didn't get his reunion with his sister.
He didn't. Nah, should be bumped off in the second film. We can have a reunion in the afterlife.
But they built up these blood, the blood axes all the way through the film, and that's what you get. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're the ones, the mother world are hunting the blood axes, but then this is what you get at the end. This is what you're served at the very end, and it's just it just wasn't good enough, man. Do you know what I mean?
Aye,
No.
Just one last thing before we get onto trivia, just about Cora and her, not her acting, but like when she's meant to be giving these kind of rousing speeches. Did you find them that good? Because like the speeches he's given, like General Titus, like do it for your men and that, do it for them. It's like it doesn't sound very inspiring at all. You know what I mean, it sounded quite wooden, and I felt she was quite wooden the whole way through. Don't know what you guys thought. What about you, Colin? What do you think of Cora?
I literally can't stop comparing this to Star Wars shows and films. Like, I think there's just so many beats that are similar.
Yeah.
So, like, if you compare it to, like, remember Jyn Erso's speech near the end of Rogue One and Cassian's speech? Like, that's a good rousing speech. Like, that's like quite a memorable bit that I look back on, and it kind of gets the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. Like, didn't really see anything there. Like, there wasn't a lot of passion on show, whether it's the acting or the writing or a bit of both. So yeah, I think you needed a bit of that. Like, I think that's what makes this kind of film. I think that really elevated Rogue One was that speech. Like, to me, that's like maybe one of the best scenes in Rogue One. Is Jyn and Cassian's speech. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. You know that bit. It's all good stuff.
When she's telling her stories, I just feel it's like kind of like as if she's reading off a bit of paper. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel.
She's not. Maybe I think not.
She's not been in the fight since she was 6 years old. I don't feel it.
She's maybe not the charismatic lead you need for a film like this, because the name of the film is it Child of Fire?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a Hunger Games ripoff as well, isn't it? The Girl on Fire. She's no Katniss Everdeen anyway.
No, you can't fire a bow and arrow, that's for sure. What about you, James? Did you find our speeches inspiring?
I didn't know. I'm going to refer back to one of the comments through Twitter. It's if you can get on board with the characters, you'll be engaged with the characters. You can follow the story. It was something to that effect anyway. And I don't think that acting was great throughout this film. That's probably it could have been great if we had more characterization. We got to know more about the characters, and we got to know a bit more about them. But no, I don't think it was great. The speeches weren't inspiring. You obviously have to compare them to speeches, from other films and stuff. I know Colin always refers back to Star Wars, but
This time it wasn't my fault. It's just too easy.
I know. But how many war films have you seen? How many kind of action films have you seen? There's that, the protagonist is given the, let's kick ass speech. It wasn't like that. I didn't feel like I was on board with it, for the cause. I just needed more.
Aye, this rebellion is not very evocative of the passion.
Aye.
Well, that's the kind of character section, and that kind of went on a wee bit longer than I thought it was. So sorry, boys. So just to kind of wrap up, we'll just do a wee bit of trivia. James got some trivia for us, and then we'll just give our seismic stars, and then we can tatty bye.
Bed.
Right, okay, so trivia then. So done a wee bit of digging on this. So we kind of mentioned as we've kind of went through the pod anyway, there was obviously references to other films. I didn't bother putting them in. But obviously, if we've missed a reference to a film that we've not mentioned, then please let us know. I've even found out the Avengers reference as well that Colin mentioned. But as Paul said at the start, it was first conceived as a Star Wars film, but Disney binned it. It's heavily influenced by the Seven Samurai and The New Hope, of course. Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, Liam Neeson, Morgan Freeman, Anthony Daniels were considered to be the robot before Anthony Hopkins. So Can you imagine
Anthony
that?
Daniels doing that?
I was just thinking maybe Morgan Freeman as well, man. It'd be he narrates everything anyway, man. So
Oh, this would be definitely getting an extra seismic star if Morgan Freeman's doing it.
the Blood
that, bro.
Axes. The Blood Axes is a nod to the Viking king Eric Bloodaxe. And the last bit of trivia that I found was Jason Statham was considered to play Atticus Noble.
Oh, you wouldn't be intimidated by that, wee shorty, would you?
No.
He'd be hugging Big Sindri's hips.
Have you seen Jason Statham films Crank?
Aye.
Aye. I just thought I'd throw that in there, man. You should do
we should do that.
Crank.
It's way better than this. Why have we not done that?
The other trivia that I had was just kind of referencing the films, parts of the films, whatever. But we've done that as we've kind of spoke through the film, man. So, that's the trivia section done, Paul.
No worries. That's quite good. So, conclusion, boys. We finally reached the end. Kind of wish this was the end of this trilogy, but no, it might get better.
Trilogy? I thought it was just a two-parter.
I think it's meant to be a trilogy, possibly. I think they've just filmed the two films back to back since he wants a trilogy, but I could be wrong.
We can review parts 2 and 3 together then.
Aye.
Seismic Cinema cut.
Yeah. So, Colin, what is your seismic stars for this film?
10.
You're usually quite the level-headed one. You let your emotions stay in check, so let us know what's your benchmark.
Am I not the opposite of that? Is it not me that normally just... Okay. Right. Out of 10.
Remember, Colin, it's about the film itself, not, nothing else. The caveat you talk about, you gave the last two films 10s out of 10s,
There's no danger of that this time. Right, okay. I'm going to go for 4.
Ooh.
I don't really think I can give a film that both times I watched it, I zoned out for long parts so much that I forgot major plot points and who some characters were. The bits I liked about it in terms of, I mentioned I liked the fact there was a kind of planned out history. I like the whole kind of concept of just the little guy versus the classic good versus evil, and I liked as I said, I liked the first half hour. I liked the kind of shocking moment where they took out the leader of the town. But after that first half hour, there wasn't really a lot to enjoy, to be honest. So I thought it was quite generous, to be honest, overall. So
before you go into your star chains, I meant to ask just a wee quick one. See the ships in this film, the spaceships. I thought that was pretty naff. If you're looking to do something iconic, like an iconic space opera, in sci-fi, you've got USS Enterprise, Star Trek, you've got Star Destroyers and Star Wars, and then these felt really kind of nondescript, pretty bland models. I don't know how you guys felt when you seen them.
I think these are world destroyers at the end of the day, aren't they? And this is what you're getting served up with. When you had the Death Star in Star Wars, do you know what I mean? You could destroy, and you're getting these things.
They kind of look like the same. See the landing craft, they kind of look like the ships at Man of Steel a wee bit, I thought. But I don't know. It's just a wee side note. It's something I meant to mention earlier on. I totally forgot about it. When I watched that, it's kind of you really want something iconic, and see if somebody said to me, "Can you draw the King's Gaze?" I wouldn't be able to.
I wouldn't even know what that. I wouldn't even know what that was.
That's the big ship. Big ship with the big nuclear guns. Jamesy boy, what is your seismic stars for Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire?
3 out of 10. I'm not I'm being as bloody real here as I can be, man. 3 out of 10. The points I've gave it for, rather than the ones I've knocked it off for, was I thought the whole kind of special effects, cinematography, it was nice. The planets and stuff. Some backdrops are really nice. I thought the fight scenes in some of them were good. So that the one where Atticus, leathered that boy and then battles his head in, and then you get the bit where we didn't really speak about the balance scene much, where they took out all the Nazis, and especially when the robot was, they thought the robot was there to kill the farmers and that, and the way he held the gun.
As if he's just looking at it.
Aye, and he shot the boy. It was good. I like that. That was nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool shot. I've not seen like that before.
Aye. That's for the plot, the characterization, the amount of characters. It wasn't engaging enough for me. If I need to sit down at home and watch it in 3 parts, I'm not digging it. So 3 out of 10, mate, and I wouldn't be back for the second.
We'll get a guest on for that one.
I wouldn't be back for the second film,
But by that time, I've taught you to edit. You can edit that one for your sins.
What are you giving it, mate?
I'm probably in the same boat as you, James. Probably a 3. Like,
Oh, come on. That makes it look like I really liked it now.
This is your pick as well.
To be fair, I just wanted somebody to talk to, because I was like watching this. I was like, it can't just be me that's watching this and thinks all these weird things are happening. Like, can't it be? I made Scarlett watch it as well, and she was just kind of like, "This is awful. Like, what's going on here?" Like, I know, right? I'm sorry.
Well, how did this become one of our longest pods ever?
Because I'm in charge. So yeah, 3 out of 10. It looked pretty decent. I liked the robot. I liked the Jimmy robot. A couple of fight scenes were decent. Just the story was just a terrible hot mess, and didn't enjoy it at all. The characters didn't have any chemistry, like Colin was saying earlier on. Just like a lot of people have said before, it's just a lot of movies have been ripped off, and the other movies have done it a lot better. Like, if he's ripping all these things off, he's getting compared to all these other movies, and this movie just doesn't stand up to any of them. So yeah, 3 out of 10 for part 1. Maybe see if part 2 does a bit better. But yeah, that's my score. A good average there we've got. So maybe I'll just do a bit of housekeeping at the end there.
Can I change mine to 3?
You can, you conformist. Gee. 3's in the doors. Right. So that has been a review of Rebel Moon Part 1. Sorry folks, this has almost been as long as the movie, but I've got a lot to talk about. So, if you like what you heard, make sure to follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads and TikTok. We've also got a wee sideshow, Seismic Soccer. Seismic Soccer 4 is coming up this month as well. We're going to have Sean from Review It Yourself on, which should be pretty decent. And, a wee cheeky follow and a sub on YouTube, Spotify would be amazing, because, that's how we judge our success, and we love it. So, get on that wee subscribe button, click it. I think it should be down there somewhere. And also, Jamesy Boy's putting his degree to good work, and he's going to be updating the website, so seismiccinema.com. Go have a look there, you see all our old stuff, and anything new and upcoming news, probably. So yeah, that has been us. Colin, thank you. James, thank you. Sorry for both putting you through that movie, but I just felt it had to be done.
And if you made it this far, James is going to buy you a Blu-ray copy of the DVD and sign it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Right, well thanks guys, and have a good night. And everybody, thank you for listening or watching.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks.